Want to see how I turn this into this? And this into this? Well, stick around and I'll show you how. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my second devlog. In my last video I showed off the basic mechanics of my game, but things were looking a little dull visually. So for the past 2 months I've been working on building art to make things look more appealing. Learning a lot of new software, improving my art skills, and trying to hone in on an art style for the game that I'm happy with. And this is what I've come up with. I don't know if I'm truly satisfied with this quite yet, but the game's still definitely in its early stages, so I'll likely iterate on this in the future. For now though, let me show you what went into making these scenes. This first scene is actually really simple, and 3 assets are doing most of the work here. The first is Polygon Dungeons by Cinti. Mix up most of the geometry in this scene. Initially I just used it as a starting point to sort of block out the space with the plan to replace it with my own custom meshes later, but I kind of like the way it looks right now. Next is Cozy Stylized Weather 2. Cozy has a lot of options for various different beautiful stylized weather types. And for my game, I wanted a very moody start that a really rich atmosphere, so I went with this thick, hazy, early morning fog, and I just love the colors that this casts upon the scene. And the third asset is Stylized Water 2. I actually really liked the old water asset I used, but unfortunately it wasn't compatible with Cozy, so I had to find something new. I'm using a very simple setup here where I actually disable all the advanced lighting features like sparkles, normal, surface foam, reflections, but I like how this water basically just absorbs the colors of the skybox and the fog and the haze and applies some gentle variation through wave movement. It's just very soothing and very peaceful. Finally, we apply some post-processing to increase contrast, apply some color grading, and of course, add bloom. Otherwise, I did model these obelisks myself, but they're pretty basic trapezoids with some cutouts. And then additionally, I made these torches that use a very simple particle effect. These sprites are transparent circles that I'm applying an upward force to, and they're just changing color and transparency over time. It's pretty basic, but I like the way it looks. So this next scene, this is the environment that you see when you enter this temple and walk down into the depths. And this one actually uses all custom geometry. It's much less reliant on assets to achieve the quality look. Although I definitely did use additional assets here. But yeah, because a lot of the art here was custom made by me, this did take up the majority of my time over the last 2 months. So the process for this was actually quite a journey. For a while I was trying to learn how to use Substance Painter and Substance Designer, since I had already developed basic modeling skills in Blender but was very new to texturing. And learning those actually was a lot of fun, but ultimately I was never really happy with anything that I produced. I wanted a simple, stylized look, because I know that my art skills are limited, so I'm not trying to do anything too fancy or impressive. But the only things I was able to make using those two were either too realistic looking or too simple or boring. But recently I was playing Somerville, and I really liked how they were able to achieve such a beautiful game with such simple textures. This inspired me to go for an untextured art process, which I thought would be nice because it would save me a lot of time and effort because I wouldn't have to bother with making these textures, and instead I just focused on making interesting models and using lighting to make the levels look exciting. I got some additional inspiration when I saw this trailer for Hyper Light Breaker, and I loved how simple their geometry was, but also how they used geometric patterns to break up the monotony. And I added these sort of inlays to the door and the pressure plate and the columns, and I'm starting to get really happy with how a lot of this looked. Definitely need to expand on this further, since a lot of the walls are still pretty barren, but I think this is good enough for now. Once I had gotten the basic geometry set up, I wanted to add the final touches. So I used Bakery for baking the lights, which I highly recommend as an alternative to Unity's built-in light mapping system. And then I also added Budo Volumetric Fog, which adds more depth and atmosphere to the space and the lighting. And finally, of course, post-processing. So for my next steps, I plan on adding some models and animations for the 2 enemies, both the little nuggets that sort of run around and the angry pink monsters that attack you. But for now, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on what I have so far. Do you like this art style? Do you think it looks like crap? Let me know, I definitely could use some feedback. I mean, I've been staring at this for the last 2 months and I'm definitely getting a bit of tunnel vision, so I'd love to hear what you guys think. Otherwise, like, subscribe, etc., because it helps with the video ranking, so I can get this video to reach more people. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.